Recording started. Hello, it's UK. G'day, mate.
It's kind of funny because I noticed, like, it doesn't seem like anyone from the UK ever turns up to the call.
Oh, I know. Probably like, bloody Yankee, hosting the call. What the hell?
Funny.
That's okay. Yeah, it's just a time thing, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to make it really inclusive, or and anybody from any country welcome. Every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, if possible.
It certainly suits me this time. 6 a.m. is good for me because I just finished my meditation and then I'm like, let's talk about Dharma with you guys.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
What type of meditation? Any particular style or anything?
Just anapanasati, just breathing meditation. Yeah.
Right. Cool, man.
I've dabbled with lots of different types over the years, but that seems to be the most effective for me.
Yeah, that's dope.
Mm.
And that's the Noble Eightfold Path, is remembering to look, remembering that everything's okay, breathing in, sigh relief and relaxing.
Mm.
And that encompasses the whole Eightfold Noble Path. Dhammarato says is more like a doorway because it's available here and now. Here and now, whenever we wish. Whenever we wish. So has your guys' practices been going well? Any insights, any experiences this week or anything? Any trouble?
Well, trouble, not in meditation, but my car broke down a couple of days ago, so I'm having car dukkha, and now I'm having bank account dukkha for how much it's going to cost me to get it fixed.
Bank account dukkha.
But this is life, right? So that's all right. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Car dukkha is a
What
big
about
one.
you? Yeah. What about you? What have you been up to?
Yeah, my practice has been pretty awesome lately. Even when I have the normal things that arise, that arise in everybody's life, trials and tribulations and such. Yeah, it's been pretty dope. I feel like I'm really getting a good grasp on karma. Oh, hi, Ivan.
Cool. Hey, Ivan. You're up late or up early?
Morning, Ivan.
Yeah, he's from Thailand, right, Ivan? I believe he's from Thailand.
I think he's in Malaysia.
Oh, is it Malaysia? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but we're talking about karma. Because karma can seem like such a vague concept, I feel like. But when for myself, it's really the natural emotions, thoughts, feelings, emotions, the Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta of the mind. I feel I used to definitely more, when those things would arise, attach onto them and do something in the physical realm that would create not only physical karma, but also mental karma. That if I wasn't strong enough in my practice, not only did I make a mistake in the physical realm, but then I'm also suffering the dukkha in my mind. And the physical realm causes more dukkha for others, really, but also can cause dukkha for ourselves. But it's really worth noting that when the problems arise in the mind, You can be as angry as you want, as fearful as you want, as sad as you want, as frustrated and anxious as you want. But as long as you don't act on them physically, it's almost like a superpower. It really is quite lovely. Like, even if somebody's shitty to you or whatever, it's like, if you just let that shit roll off and it's like, whatever, I could feel angry, but I'm just not going to fucking react. Then an hour goes by and you're like, man, if I would have reacted, if I would have punched that guy, I would be in a lot of trouble right now. That for not only myself, but for my family and friends and the guy I punched and this and so.
Yeah.
Just for an example. But it's really clear, you know, karma becomes something that's no longer this vague concept, and like, oh, we really can like take a step back and not be held hostage by our own mistakes and the consequences of those actions. But go ahead, guys, what were you saying?
No, I was just going to say, yeah, reflection like that is a really good thing to do, and it's something that we often don't do with our practice, right? It's kind of like, I know there was a teacher I listened to a little bit, a guy called Ajahn Martin, who's in the Thai forest tradition, and he'll always say, at the end of the day, reflect on your day and think back on, you know, what you've done and how you reacted to things, which is exactly what you're talking about, right? And for him, that was a big part of the practice, was reflection, like reflecting on things, which I think is good. Yeah.
Were you going to say something, Patrick? I don't know if I heard you or not.
No, that was probably my dog joined me.
That's got to say.
What kind of dog is that?
It's a Chihuahua, we believe.
Nice. Are they friendly, or are they as vicious as people say?
This one is quite friendly, but she likes to chase bikes and people running.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, cool, man. Yeah, those little dogs, man, they have some power behind them usually to make up for their smallness. They get sometimes they get extra aggressive. Not always in a bad way. Sometimes they need to be in order to defend themselves. Yeah. And but yeah, when you see karma and like as something that's real world, instead of just like, of course, the mundane way of, there's somebody in the sky watching me and I will reap this magical thing, you know, that I sow. Which is not saying that doesn't exist, but it's just irrelevant for the Dhamma practice. Because nobody really knows what's going on in the metaphysical world. If one person did know, they'd be quite famous. Maybe it was Jesus. Maybe it actually was Jesus.
Yeah, who knows?
Jesus or Michael Jackson. Well, yeah, another thing I was contemplating was anatta, or no soul, or no permanent self. And as Buddhadasa Bhikkhu would talk about it in the book Heartwood of the Bodhi Tree, it's basically an entire book dedicated to anatta and basically getting rid of the ego. And Buddhadasa Bhikkhu acknowledges in that book that yes, it means no soul. But from my understanding from reading the book, he's saying that basically they didn't have a word for the ego, you know? They didn't have a word for the selfishness, maybe aside from selfishness. But that's basically what it comes down to, is this sense of entitlement, this sense of self. And Buddhadasa Bhikkhu referred to it as the head of the snake of attachments, of negative attachments. He said, you don't have to worry about this attachment or that attachment. If you cut off the head of the snake, that solves all of the other maybe minor attachments or minor dukkhas that arise from these attachments. And he even went as far to say, have no concept whatsoever of the self. erase it completely from your mind, which is not very popular even amongst our circles that we're in this Sangha sometimes. But I even highlighted that line so I could reference it if somebody argues with me, like, no, he said obliterate all sense of self, which I like. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy to grasp. It's just basically letting go of selfishness, letting go of wanting to hold on to something that needs validation. The head of the snake, the ego, its lifeblood, its nutrients is validation. And like Dhammarato often talks about with the Garden of Eden, and how it is kind of an allegory for when we're born into this perfect world, suckling from our mother's breast and having the nice protection and love from our father. If we're lucky enough to have those things, generally most people are, but not always. Sometimes it's a grandparent or a friend or whatever. But what happens after we turn 7 or 8, it starts to become, the unconditional love starts to become very conditioned. And now we have to throw out the garbage in order to get the love and do well in our studies and go to university and get a job and all this shit. And then when we turn around 35, 40, we say, I did all the hard work. I did everything I was supposed to. Where's this reward? Where's this nurturing, pure nurturing love that I had as a baby? And it doesn't show up. So people have midlife crises and all these things, trying to find that nurturing love in physical objects with no luck. And most things people do in society is a quest for validation to feed that ego. And it can be a very powerful force if you let it. People have done kind of miraculous things based on not straying from the storyline and the consistency of their ego, of their character that they developed. You know, I even doubt some people might not even, let's say, like a certain ice cream, but maybe somebody told them that they admired when they were younger, like, he likes chocolate ice cream. Like, yeah, I like chocolate ice. That's the type of person I am. And I wouldn't doubt if there's people out there who, if they really question that, they might find that they like other flavors. That's how powerful sticking to a storyline, to a character, can be. And that's how powerful sticking to superstitious beliefs can be. And the king of all superstitious beliefs is this sense of important self, this permanent self. And it's better just to do away with all of it. When you start doing acts of loving kindness and compassion, when you start not worrying about following rules, when you stop worrying about what your hierarchical level, what ring of the ladder you're at in any given group or whatever, even sanghas, when you stop all this stuff, you really get a moment's rest. You know, you really get rest here and now. And the more you practice, the more you witness how all of these things are very illusory. They come and go just like the clouds in the sky. They don't last. And even now, you know, it's these things can be very subtle. Am I doing this right? Am I meeting expectations? And even if we're not thinking of if we're meeting expectations of people in this group, are we meeting expectations of in our relationships in society? Are we meeting the expectations of our parents? Are we receiving the validation we so desperately worked for our whole life in many different facets of life? And the answer is usually no, we're not meeting that, because it's a constant craving. It's the hungry ghost constantly needing to be validated, needing to fulfill another addiction, you know. Even sitting in silence, you get bored. You're addicted to other things. We can't pay attention. It's not so easy just to sit in silence. It's not so easy just to breathe and realize everything's okay. We want to hear another magical word that will give us some hope of a greater enlightenment in the future that's not here. We want a better teacher who will tell us things, and we could hold on to a better word or a better phrase that will give us some openings of doors in the future. Because we can't accept right now. We can't accept the mundane reality of right now. We see it as mundane. We see it as boredom. We see it as unsatisfactory by its very nature. Well, that's how we should see it. And we should know that there's not a way out other than accepting it for what it is. And if you can accept dukkha, if you can accept things go up and down and change all the time and they don't do what we want, if we can accept these things, if we can realize that they have no power over us, there is a lightness that comes and there's a freedom that comes, because you're no longer held hostage. You're no longer a slave by societal standards or your own ego's standards. You're free and you can live spontaneously. Think of any grudge you may have with other people. Think of any judgments or preconceived notions you have about reality and let them go. See them for what they are. This person did this in the past. This person may do this in the future. This may happen with this event in life of jobs or cars or relationships. All of it's uncertain, and whatever will be, will be. You know? So anything on your guys' mind? Anything you want to say in response to all that bullshit?
That was very good, mate. Thank you. It's a nice reminder. Because it's easy to get caught up in. I especially get caught up at work, you know, in the hierarchical kind of. I'm kind of the longest serving person in the part of the business that I'm in, and I always have this idea that I have to know the most because I've been here the longest. So if someone comes and asks me a question, I have to know the answer, and it's just like you say, it's just bullshit, really, because I don't always know the answer sometimes, and I've got better at just saying, oh, I don't know, just go and ask. You know, I don't have to know everything. Or
yeah.
God
forbid we seem weak to our peers. You know. God forbid we let them see us as human, as making mistakes. God fucking forbid. You know, it's just all admit we're all fuck ups. It's like the Buddha admitting we're just dirt. It's just elements doing what elements do. The mind just being natural, the mind. But we want to be greater than the body. We want to be greater than the dirt. You're not. You're not. You're fooling yourself and everybody else if you think. I have my robe on. I have my beads. I'm very holy. I'm very this. You're not.
I've got my monk I got my monk t-shirt.
Hey, that's better than a robe.
Yeah.
It's all superstitious nonsense. Just like money, just like anything else. And then if we become monks, we say, you know, like, wow, we're really something. We're really somebody. We don't have children. We don't have a family. We don't have responsibilities. We don't have societal problems. But then if you go to a temple or what, I'm assuming, correct me if I'm wrong, but you may not have children, but while you're looking after your prayer bowl or pot or whatever the hell it is, you're looking after your robe, got to fold it correctly. Don't want people to think I'm silly for folding my robe incorrect. And I don't have father or family because I'm in a wat or a temple. Oh, but there's an abbot. I better make sure I bow correctly and say the right mantras. And there's no gossip, and there's no frat boys in the temples or the monkhood or priesthood or whatever you want to call it. But there is. You fight with your brothers, You know, there's even nuns walking around and lay people, you know, there's animals you get in confrontations with. It's everything in society exists in these other places. And that's kind of the point to me. And Buddhadasa Bhikkhu used to say, when he was asked, can a ordinary person become enlightened? He's like, in order to become enlightened, you have to surpass both the householder and also the monk. Because he was seeing those both as just illusory concepts. Neither bad nor good, but thinking makes it so. And that's why some teachers can be a bit harsh when they see that you're really clinging on to something. It's not that they're trying to make you look foolish, but they're trying to piss you off to show you how attached you are to these specific things that you hold so dear, even concerning the Dhamma, things pertaining to the Dhamma. They're guidelines, but if you start worshiping them, it's not good. Like Ajahn Sumedho used to say it's like you're in a prison cell and you have and the Buddha's teaching, you know, the Pali Canon, it's like a key in your pocket. But the canon is going, all right, here's the key, now open the door. Well, you don't open the door to your cell, you put the key on a hook on the wall and you start praying and prostrating to the key and worshiping it, saying, no, and you read the directions, I must twist it to the left 3 times. Yes, 3 times. And you transcribe 3 times, I twist it to the left. And then you have the holy books on the directions to how to use the key on the wall. And then but you're not freeing yourself. Don't worship the hand pointing to the moon. Don't worship the key that's supposed to unlock the door. See it for what it is. A tool, a helpful guideline.
Yeah, it's a bit,
and if somebody mocks the tool, then everybody gets upset. Oh, he's mocking the tool, the sacred tool. It's not sacred. It's useful, yes, but it's not sacred. But I'm sorry, what were you saying, Lou?
No, I was just going to say it's a bit like with precepts, keeping precepts. I've found, having practiced 5 precepts for a number of years now, you kind of get to a point where, like, I used to beat myself up about breaking a precept, like, oh no, I've broken the first precept, I killed a worm or a mosquito or something. And obviously you're not trying to do that, but after a while you kind of, I don't know, you just sort of realize that beating yourself up about it is kind of counterintuitive, really. Goes against what. And someone was just commenting on Discord this morning about this exact thing, about they were kind of beating themselves up because they broke a precept. And I've just found after a while, they become more natural to keep them anyway, but occasionally you're going to slip up because it's a training rule, right? It's a practice. It's not I'm perfect now, I can never do this wrong, and if I do this, I'm a bad person because, yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd comment.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything to say on what Luke said?
Yeah, I just want to quickly comment on what you said, Dhammarato, about it's a tool. I guess you said something like that. Even the Buddha talk about the simile of the raft, where you get to the other side. Like the raft is a tool, right? But it's not like we don't appreciate the tool, but it essentially in itself is a tool. I think when people start getting too much into the worshipping aspect, they lose track of what it really means. And I also, on what Luke said about the precept, really got me thinking about like it's so interesting because even in the Bible, Jesus, when someone asks him about the commandments, which the Christians really love, the 10 Commandments and all that. Even I forgot how he phrased it, but basically it's just sorry, it's kind of late, so my mind's not working as well, but it's just
Chilling,
the value behind it, right? The like if you just memorize the words by words and like, oh, I have to get it to a T, you kind of lose track of what's the purpose of the purpose or even the precepts. So yeah, it's really interesting. It's the third feather, right? Also second feather, like the attachment, the rites and ritual, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's like playing a sport. How many people have played sports here? And have you ever just opened up a manual when you were learning to play the sport? Were you standing with your friends when you were learning to play football, soccer, and saying, okay, guys, I got the manual. Let's see. Step 1, we got to kick the ball at a right angle so it fucking spins when we kick it and all this shit. No, you fucking play. But there's your friend in the corner. No, and actually on page 34, we have to do this. He would get beat up if he did that.
Yeah, it's true.
And that's what Dhamma practice is. It's an action. It's learning to be light, not take things so seriously, be joyful. Instead of trying to get it right, just try to get it happily, like Dhammarato says. And that's the message, to breathe and relax. But that's really seems sometimes people's perceptions can convince them that that's not enough. It's like the old Hindu stories of the guy going to the yogi, and the yogi tells him he's God, but he doesn't believe that he's God. So the yogi knows that he wants to go through the prostrations and go through the rituals and go through the asanas and read all the different Vedas and shit like that. So he lets him do it. For lifetimes you could let him do it. Because he just won't stop and be like, oh, he said I'm God. That's cool. He wants to be somewhere. He wants to get something, and he doesn't believe he has already. And we all have peace already. Go ahead, Ivan. What are you saying?
Oh no, I was just saying, no, sorry, my mind goes blank.
Good, man. That's actually a good.
Oh yeah, I remember. It's just a very quick Zen saying. I really love telling that to myself sometimes. Is they say before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, yada yada, and after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water, yada yada.
Yeah. I like the yada yada version. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yes, very true. I've listened to more Dhamma talks than anybody I've ever met, and it's amazing. You're not really saying much when we're communicating with speech. I've heard the most beautiful speeches given. It's not much saying. If you really break down all speech pertaining to the Dhamma, you could break down basically the whole Pali Canon. It really is, don't worry, be happy. But that's too simple for people. They want to be the best student. They want to be the best scholar. They want to be the best practitioner. But you're not going to be unless you put that shit down and don't take it too seriously. I've known a lot of people who can recite all the verses, and when problems come in their life, they crumble.
Yeah.
Sometimes not recovering. Sometimes they don't make it. When you practice correctly, the troubles come, and you realize that that's just a natural part of life. You don't even have to like them. You don't have to not get angry. You don't have to not get fearful. If somebody you love dies, you don't have to say, I'm a Buddhist or I'm this. I can't possibly mourn. You can experience all the thoughts, feelings, and emotions you want. Just don't fall in love with them. Don't fight them because you don't like them, and don't become addicted to them because you're obsessed with them. Anger comes, let it come. Don't fight it. Just don't act out on it. Take refuge in the breath. Take refuge in that everything's okay here and now. And let the anger pass as its natural progression in this reality. That's how it works. If the fear comes, if the anxiety comes, And those are the easy ones to see. You know, the not so easy ones, the more subtle ones to see are wanting to get it right. I want to get it right. This guy, Dhamma, he doesn't know this. I want to get it right. I want the real teaching. I want to learn shit. I want to do this. And that's the subtle dukkha, the subtle dissatisfaction of thinking that there could be something else but just this. There ain't. How old are we? 20, 30, 40? It's always been just this. And no bullshit I'll spew from my mouth will make it anything different than just this. It's a inconvenient truth, but a truth nonetheless.
It reminds me of there was an Ajahn Kalyano quote I got the other day. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's an English monk who lives in Australia, but he said, if we don't bother with snakes won't be a problem for us. The same goes for mental anxieties and restless thoughts. If we don't get involved with them, they will arise and cease on their own. So it's pretty much what you're saying, like with anger and with those things, is just don't try and get rid of them. Just let them come and go on their own. We don't have to hang on to them, get involved with them. Just let them come and go. It's difficult, but it is.
And a lot of spiritual people nowadays, it's become popular to, if I manifest things, if I can control my environment, then that'll really be something. And it is self-love, which is basically selfishness in disguise. If I could become more selfish, then this is true spirituality. It's so silly. Jesus was a good example when people who are Christians follow Jesus, who are true Christians follow Jesus. They learn from the examples in the Bible and his followers that just because they worshiped Jesus and listened to his message of peace and love, it's not like they were spared from the trials and tribulations of life. John the Baptist was beheaded. Some of the apostles were filleted, their flesh filleted off their body, crucified upside down, burned alive. Most of them. Jesus himself was crucified. It doesn't mean that when you have this Dhamma, Holy Spirit, that everything in your life's just not going to bother you anymore. It comes, it fucks with you just like everybody else. You'll get good shit in life, you'll get bad shit. But you no longer see it as good or bad. You no longer see it as being and becoming. You just see it as a natural phenomenon that arises and passes. Nothing more. So what can I do? I have this problem. Well, you try to fix it the best you can and you fucking move on like you have since you were a baby. How many problems have we worried about in our life? And we try the best we can, and then they either work out or they don't, or we find another way to do it. It's no biggie. It's not rocket science. People with far less IQ than us who are doing just fine probably had less problems than. That's why some people are too damn smart for their own good. That monkey mind is never at rest. I remember the singer from Linkin Park. I forget his name. Chester. Chester.
Yeah. Was it Parker? I can't remember, but Chester something.
He passed away. But he used to say, "Man, you don't want to be in my mind. You wouldn't last a day in my mind. It's not a fun place to be." And, he's speaking about his mental illness and his dukkha that he's experiencing. And as if that was something that not many people experience, But we hang on to that dukkha. We hang on to those addictive attachments. And the hell becomes concrete, real in the mind. It solidifies in the mind. It can be perceived to be very difficult to get away from. And some people don't make it like him. But it's not like, oh, this is his fault. It's just it's things that happen in reality. It's nobody's fault. There's nobody that's to blame. It's just the way things are.
something keep coming back to. It's a very simple saying, right? We suffer more in our head than in reality. It just speaks more and more true to me. Because the objective reality, like you said, it is just what it is. Kind of, like you said, just this. It's Bhikkhu Buddhadasa actually plays a lot. Like he spent some effort into really try to get people to understand what Takkata really actually is. I think he kind of he said something about like if you really know like how deep did he say how deep, but something around that line, that Takkata really means that you arrive at the peace or something like that. Like I really love it. Like this actually, like for me, Takkata is like so mysterious, right? It just boils down to just this, but it feels very limitless to me, like in a good way, like because like we try to overthink, right? We try to like understand things and like get control, or even managing dukkha, something like that. But when you just boils down to just this, you just throw everything away and just everything is okay.
Yeah. And we have to be mindful too of not getting so overly zealous with spiritual teachers. Even Dhammarato himself said he loved Buddhadasa Bhikkhu. He loves the Buddha, but they stand on clay feet. Meaning they're great, but at the end of the day also they're just kind of conceptual notions and guidelines. And we have to be adults, and we have to see for ourselves that these guidelines that the Buddha gave us, what was he saying? Do they work? We put them into practice. And once we know for ourselves, we're no longer dependent on Buddha. We're no longer dependent on Buddhadasa Bhikkhu. We're no longer dependent on Dhammarato. We're no longer dependent on other people. We become independent. People can tell me that karma's this, karma's that, karma's this, but for myself, when I see that if I do a negative action in this physical realm, the consequences follow me. If I don't do negative physical actions in this realm, there are no problems. There's just bad habits. That's sankharas. And karma is a kind of sankhara. It's an action. It's a bad habit, an action born out of the bad habits that subtly make its way into the spiritual realm inside of us. But we take these dukkhas and this tiger, like Buddhadasa Bhikkhu said, you don't have to fight the tiger. You don't have to fight the dukkha or the cravings. You just starve them with sati and anapanasati. If something arises, you take shelter in anapanasati. You can even chant if you want, and these things will pass. At the end of the day, that's the only thing that I'm saying. Dhamma practice is an action. It's the action of when dukkha arises, you're taking shelter until the dukkha passes. That's how we deal with dukkha. It's not saying a magical word that gets rid of the dukkha forever. That's not reality. Even the Buddha saw Mara come back on his deathbed, but he knew how to take shelter until he saw Mara for what she was, is illusory, a passing phenomenon, nothing more, nothing less. And that's all we're doing. That's all we're doing, taking shelter in the breath, taking shelter and right here, right now, realizing everything's okay. That's the Noble Eightfold Path. That's what we teach. That's what I teach. That's what the Buddha taught. And when you practice it, you see for yourself that it really is that simple. Yeah. Well, anybody else have anything they want to say before we get going?
I have a quick non-Dhamma related question. I'm curious. No, because I remember the first time I see you, you have a very long, beautiful beard. I was just curious, are you going to grow it this year?
Oh, I don't think I'm gonna grow it. It would I would accidentally pull hairs out when it was very long, and it became kind of annoying. Although it was great for winter because it kept me warm though.
Yeah, I was just thinking about it because it's like near the winter season, and I thought that you're gonna grow it out.
Yeah, maybe I should, man. I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should grow one with me.
Yeah, if I could.
Yeah, you can do it. We should all grow beards in the song.
Oh, in the beard group, the beard bros.
Yeah. Buddha beard dudes. Well, yeah, go ahead, Luke.
I'm going to India next week for 3 weeks, going to pilgrimage.
Oh, sweet,
So,
dude.
Yeah, it should be an experience. I suspect whatever happens, it'll be an experience. So yeah, I won't be around I probably won't be on calls for a few weeks. So
that's okay, man.
I'll see you when I get back.
I've done many a weeks with nobody showing up.
Oh, really?
I'm quite seasoned in whatever happens. So don't you worry.
Thanks for the reminders, mate. And the
Yeah,
Dhamma.
thanks.
Very nice.
Patrick, you good? You got anything to say before we go?
No, it's all right.
Nice. All right, brothers. You rock, dude.
Take it easy, guys.
Peace out, guys.
Bye.
Cheers.